Hey Tony, it's Tuesday. Unfortunately, I was gonna make this video yesterday, but Little Miss had some really bad gassy fits yesterday, so she spent much of the night screaming and crying, so that wasn't really conducive to making a video. So I do apologize for that. And next off, to answer your question of the week, we don't have any like big plans. I finished some of our Christmas shopping yesterday, and otherwise, it's going to be, I think, on Christmas Day, we're going to Joey and Martinez after we do stuff here. So it'll be nice, be fine. So I already warned you about this earlier today, but this video today is going to be a really boring subject that's really big, and I'm not going to be able to get that much into the 10 minutes, that 10-minute limit I have, but I'll do my best. I want to talk about U.S. infrastructure. Yeah, I can already see your eyes glazing over. So the reason why I want to talk about this is because, I mean, you hear a lot of politicians talk about the crumbling infrastructure of America or this part of the infrastructure, and it doesn't exactly explain what infrastructure is, and even more so, it doesn't necessarily explain the threats that our infrastructure face. So I'm going to do a really brief discussion on this because it's really important right now. Infrastructure is arguably one of the most important parts of a civilized country, and the fact that America is really lagging behind in infrastructure has a lot of aspects of concern. So the reason why I'm talking about this video this week is because I don't know if you heard, but in North Carolina, there was it hasn't been officially designated as a domestic terrorist attack, but it's a domestic terrorist attack on a electrical grid in North Carolina. So in North Carolina there was going to be a big drag show that day, and this organization or these people, these actors, no one really knows who or why or what group, or if it was just lone wolves, but they ended up shooting up a part of the electrical grid, and it knocked out power for I think 40,000 citizens of this county in North Carolina. And it happened right about the same time that this drag show was going to happen, so it got canceled. But this has been a real big issue because we're in the beginning of December. We're in the cold months now, so the fact that people haven't had electric, there have been many homes that have lost all their heat. There have been many homes full of elderly individuals who are on like dialysis machines or oxygen machines that now can't use those because the electric's out. And you had several traffic accidents because all of the traffic lights are out. And it's something that a lot of security experts have been warning for a long time of, hey, our electrical grid is really open to terroristic attacks that can knock out power for thousands upon hundreds of thousands, or even like millions of people. There's some belief that if you have a coordinated attack on several different electrical plants that shut down the electrical grid, it can basically cause a cascading effect. So say this one bad actor shoots up this one and knocks power out there, well, another closer one has to compensate for that. So you have another person there who can basically shoot that out, and it starts a tidal wave of power going out. Grids get overburdened and can completely shut down. I don't know. You might be a little young to remember the blackout of 2003. It didn't impact us at our house, but it certainly impacted people in Kent. But there was a power malfunction at a electrical plant that resulted in millions of people being without power in the middle. I think it was, if I remember correctly, I think it was August was when that happened. It's been obviously 19 years, so I could be off on the month, but I know it was warmer out, so not nearly as catastrophic as it is right now with homes being freezing. But a lot of our problems with our infrastructure go even beyond that, because I don't know if you've driven on many roads, but a lot of roads are in terrible shape. That's part of your infrastructure. A lot of bridges are in catastrophic shape that, you know, many security experts might say, hey, that bridge can fall down at any moment. And these are all problems that we're facing because we haven't put enough money into our infrastructure. It's why you also have, like, you can see, like, our power grids are super susceptible to attacks. A lot of our bridges are falling apart. A lot of our roads are falling apart. And a lot of it is because of the way those get funding. So a lot of that happens through taxation. And when you have, you know, a lot of tax cuts over the past several years, particularly for those who make the most, by the past several years, I'm talking, you know, the past 40 years, you end up having an issue of there's not necessarily enough funds going into these infrastructure aspects. And that can factor in your water plants, can factor in your sewage supplies, it can factor in your electric, your heat, and all of these things that pretty much keep us alive are all part of infrastructure. You had, over the past couple of years, there's been a lot of discussion on supply chain shortages, and one of the issues of that is because our infrastructure has been bad. Like, our highways are not designed for as many cars that go over them. The railways in this country are abysmal, and even through transport, it's not great. And with the rising cost of fuel, that can be really hard for, like, planes to go through. And all of these things kind of cascade upon each other and result in a overall really hard thing to deal with, and something that has and could have very long-lasting impacts upon our economy, upon the well-being of everyone, even amongst, like, having a reliable supply of electric and water. You look at some place like Flint, Michigan. Now, Flint, Michigan is its own separate thing, but it still falls under the umbrella of infrastructure. There wasn't enough effort and focus put on their water line, and that's why you have toxins and lead poisoning that have basically made a lot of those homes completely worthless. And a lot of people have much of their income and many of their assets based around their home and their property values. And if your property values crash, well, there goes your nest egg. You are in a real bad situation of, I'm here with water that is actively poisoning myself and my children, and I can't sell it because the property value is worthless, so I can't move because I don't have $350,000 in the back account, because people just don't. And a lot of these still fall under the fact that the infrastructure has been neglected for 40 years, if not longer. And there are some things that we can do to kind of help rectify that. One big thing would be making a little more federal support for infrastructure projects, making a high-speed rail. That way you have a lot less impact on your roads, which might not crumble as much, and by extension, a lot less impact on your bridges, which are, again, many of them are so structurally unsound that it's, quite frankly, horrifying. It can make it so you have backups in case there is an attack that shuts down a power grid in a county or a city or a state or a region, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because these things have been neglected for years and years and years. And the way you have to do that would be increasing taxes and make it so your roads and things like that aren't necessarily solely dependent on your income taxes of your specific town. Like, in a place like Springfield, which is fairly like, it really has a much lower standard of living than a place like South Hadley. The difference between the roads is staggering, because in Springfield there's not as much funding to go around to be able to make those roads be in good shape or even be plowed properly. And these are all things that we really need to come to terms with to fix up. So, Tony, this was a really long video, and I apologize, but my question for you is, what are some political things that you're passionate about? Tony, I'll see you on Monday. Later, bro.